الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, dear brothers and sisters, this is lesson number 5 of our commentary on Al-Murshid al-Mu'in ala al-Daruri min ulum din. And after we finished all what has to do with purification, today inshallah we're going to speak about Salah, about the prayer. So our lecture today inshallah is going to be about Kitab al-Salah. قال رحمه الله تبارك وتعالى كتاب الصلاة فرائض الصلاة. So we're going to speak about the pillars, the sunan, which are the strong preferable actions of salah, and then the preferable actions, and then the things that are disliked in salah. All these inshallah I'm going to try my best to summarize them in this lecture, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help me continue this lesson inshallah. So he says here فرائض الصلاة فرائض الصلاة 16 شروطها 4 مقتفرة تكبيرة الإحرام والقيام لها ونية بها ترام فاتحة مع القيام والركوع والرفع منه والسجود بالخضوع ورفع منه والسلام والجلوس له وترتيب أداء في الوسوس والاعتدال مطمئنا بالتزام تبع مأموم بإحرام سلام نيته اقتدا كذا الإمام في خوف وجمع جمعة مستخلف. The 16 obligatory actions of the prayer. And I'm going to mention them one after another one and translate that to English and then give a brief explanation. The book of Salah, obligations of the Salah. There are 16 fard, obligations of the Salah, and carrying them out is conditional upon 4 things, which must be compiled with the saying of Allahu Akbar, which marks entry into the Salah and its sincerity, by which all other actions but the Salah are excluded. The standing for the Salah and the intention. Also obligatory is the Fatiha done while standing and the bowing, the return to standing position after it, and prostration with submissiveness. And also obligatory is raising one's hands from the ground and saying the salam, sitting for his salam, and the order of the fard elements when performing these obligations. Standing straight for a moment while relaxing the limbs at the same time. Those behind the imam must perform the takbiratul ihram and the salam after him. One should make an intention to perform the salah following the imam, just as the imam should make an intention of the fear salah in joining the 2 salahs in the Jumu'ah and whenever standing in for the imam. Okay, these are the things that are obligatory in salah. 16 obligations of the salah. What are these 16 obligations? The first one, according to what he mentioned here, the first one is the intention. Now, scholars speak about obligations, which if you don't do them, no matter you forgot or you meant to not do them, that nullifies the prayer unless you repair that. What are the conditions? The conditions are two types. Conditions that make the salah. That means it's not a sign that it's made by God Almighty that shows you now it's obligatory for you. Sharatul wujub. So it's not in your hand. And then we have what is called Sharatul ada. That means the conditions that make your prayer accepted. What are these? These are things that you have to take care of, and it's something like the obligations, but the difference between it and the obligations is that the obligations are part of the prayer, where the conditions are out of the prayer. They're not part of the prayer, actually. So this is the difference between the conditions and the obligations. So these conditions, if you have them, therefore, if it's a condition of making the salah obligatory, so the salah won't be obligatory unless you have these conditions. If it makes the salah accepted, so the salah won't be accepted unless you have these conditions. This is the meaning of the conditions. So we have things that make salah obligatory are 5: Islam and adults. That means to be an adult. Since the woman free from menstruation period and childhood blood, and then entering the time of prayer. These are the 5 main things that no salah is obligatory except when you have these 5 conditions. But the first one, which is Islam, a lot of scholars discuss about it and say no, salah is obligatory for everybody in the world, no matter he's not Muslim or Muslim. But it won't be accepted unless he becomes Muslim. So actually it's a condition to make salah fulfilled, not salah, to make salah accepted, not to make salah obligatory. So the first one is to say Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. The word Allahu Akbar to enter the prayer, that's called Takbiratul Ihram. And you're not allowed to use except this word, Allahu Akbar. Don't use any other word. Allah al-Kabir. God is great. No. It's in Arabic. Allah is great, yes. But you have to use it in Arabic because Arabic is the official language of Islam. No one is allowed to pray or do anything in the religion except in Arabic. That's something that you have to know. And every Muslim has to learn Arabic and try to practice it and try to use it and make it part of his life, because it's the language that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose for his servants. Like in the ancient days, he chose Hebrew. Then when he abrogated the Sharia or the law of the Torah, which was Hebrew, he made it in Arabic because he chose Arabic for all nations now. So the second thing is to recite. The second thing, to stand up. You have to stand up. You're not allowed to sit down in an obligatory prayer unless you're sick or you have an excuse. So you have to stand up. The third thing is the intention. You have to have an intention that this prayer is so and so. Fajr, Dhuhr, Maghrib, Isha, etc. And you can't just pray without knowing what intention you're doing. What are you doing? Number 4, you have to recite Surah Al-Fatiha. It's obligatory for everyone who's praying by himself or every imam to recite Surah Al-Fatiha. But the ma'mum, if the imam recites it, that is enough for him. he's not obliged to recite Surah Al-Fatiha according to what the Maliki jurisprudence says, the Maliki school says. It's not only Maliki, it's Maliki and Hanbali and Hanafi. Only the Shafi'is say it's obligatory for everybody, no matter the Imam or the Ma'mum. But we prefer, and several scholars prefer, even Malikis, that you recite it, even if you're a Ma'mum, to not get squeezed by these two opinions. And actually, for me, I recite it silently, even if I'm not an Imam. Number 5, you stand up when you're reciting Fatiha, of course. Number 6, it's bowing down. When you bow, you're asked to bow down. And number 7 is to stand up from bowing down. When you stand up, that is one of the obligatory actions of prayer. Number 8, to prostrate and put your forehead on the ground. To prostrate and put your forehead on the ground. What is obligatory? It's putting your forehead over the ground, on the ground. Then, number 9, to sit down. And then prostrate again. So those are 2 prostrations. Both of them. And you have 2 prostrations in every rak'ah. And you have 1 ruku', 1 bowing down in every rak'ah. And saying Assalamu alaikum, and sitting down when you're saying Assalamu alaikum. Not 10, 11, and 12 is to pray in the same classification that you know. You say Allahu Akbar, you stand up, you bow down, you stand up, and then you prostrate, you sit down, you prostrate, you stand up for the second rak'ah, and at the end you say the tashahhud, and you make your salam. So this is what you have to do in the. It's supposed to be in this classification. You can't bow down and stand up and then recite and then prostrate. No. You're not allowed to do that. You're flipping over the whole salah. And the Prophet ﷺ says, "Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli." Pray as you saw me prayed. Now, these are 12. The 13 is to when you stand up from bowing down, you have to stand up properly, not stand half standing. When you sit down from prostrating, you have to put the Sahabi says until every bone goes back to the way that it was in, or every jaw, if you could say, the 2 bones, between the 2 bones, goes back as it was. So that's the way it's called i'tidal. And then tuma'nina is to make it and calm down a little bit. That's 14, until you calm down a little bit. And so it's not always, sometimes you can go back and then make it quickly. You did make tuma'nina, but you made i'tidal. So i'tidal is not tuma'nina always. But normally, when you make i'tidal, you make tuma'nina with i'tidal, yes. 15, the one who's praying after the Imam, the Ma'mum has to follow the Imam in everything he's doing. And he's not allowed to do things before him. And that might nullify his prayer, especially in 2 things. If he does takbir al-ihram before the Imam, or he makes salam before the Imam, that nullifies his prayer. In the others, he's not allowed to do that before the Imam, but if he does that, it's haram, but it doesn't nullify his prayer. Last thing is that you have to follow the Imam. When are you supposed not follow the Imam? You have to put intention that you are either a ma'mum or an imam. If you're ma'mum, you're praying behind the Imam, you have to put that in your intention, always. But if you're an Imam, you have to put intention that you are an Imam. If in four things, 4 conditions, or 4, how do you say? The first thing is when you're in Salat al-Jum'ah, you have to put in your intention that you're Imam and praying behind, and people are praying behind you. And when you join between two Salah in Salat, when it's raining, you are asked, or it's permissible to join between Maghrib and Isha. So you have to, and that's not allowed except if you're an Imam. And there's a Jama'ah in the masjid, not in the house or anywhere else. So you have to put in intention that you're an Imam. And when you're praying in the battle and you're the Imam, so you have to put in intention that you're an Imam, because it's not a normal prayer. It has things to do in it. Maybe we'll speak about it later. I spoke about it in another lecture in the Qawa'id Qadi Iyad, when I was commenting on Qawa'id Qadi Iyad, I spoke about that. And when the Imam grabs you to become an Imam because something happened to him, so he has to depart from the prayer, so he grabs anybody behind him and he continues the Salah with the people. So these are the 16 things that are obligatory. Now there are several conditions, and the Imam ibn Ashir rahimahullah didn't classify these conditions and didn't show what are the conditions of making Salah obligatory, what are the ones that make it accepted. So he just made them all with each other. What are these? He says here, شرطها الاستقبال والطهر الخبث وستر عورة وطهر الحدث بالذكر والقدرات في غير الأخير تفريع ناسها وعاجز كثير ندبا يعيدان بوقت كالخطأ في قبلة لعجزها أو الغطاء وما عدا وجهها وكف الحرة يجب ستره كما في العورة لكن لدى كشف لصدر أو شعر أو طرف تعيد في الوقت المقرر. So here he mentioned several conditions that make the Salah accepted. He didn't mention all of them, but he mentioned several ones amongst them. So let us see, what did he mention here. So he says here that it is conditioned, its conditions are facing the Qibla. So you have to face the Qibla in prayer. When? In any prayer you're praying, you have to know the Qibla. Nowadays it's very easy because there are lots of things in the phone that help you to do that. Lots of applications that give you the Qibla and how to know where's the Qibla. So it's something now obvious and easy. But what if you didn't have the phone? You know it by the stars, or you ask anybody, where's north, south, west, east, and you know where you are according to the place that you are. You know where's Mecca and where's Arabia. So, okay, what if you're in an airplane or you're traveling? Are you supposed to go and face where the Qibla is? Well, actually, if it's difficult for you, you're not supposed to do that. And if you're praying nawafil, which is extra prayers, you're not in a journey or travel. The Prophet ﷺ used to pray on his camel, and he doesn't. Wherever the camel goes, he just prays. He doesn't go towards the Kaaba. No. So it's not something that is obligatory for you to do that. Time. Second thing is covering up the private parts and the purification from an impure states, hadath. So here, second and third. So we have istiqbal al-qibla. We have covering the private parts. We have purification of things that impurify yourself. So these are three things. What is the awra? The awra actually, Maliki scholars say that there's a major awra and there's a minor awra. Major awra, it's obligatory for you to cover it. But if it's uncovered by intention, you have to make your salah again. The minor one, it's haram to pray without it covered, but it doesn't nullify the prayer. But you are asked to pray on time again, to repeat it in the time, which is a time. The time, Dhuhr and Asr are with each other, connected to Maghrib, and Maghrib and Isha are connected to Fajr, both with each other. This is the large time. So you have to repeat it in that time. But if it passed, you're not supposed to repeat. What is this? For the man or the male, the minor awra, which has to be covered always from the eyes of people and from in prayer, it's from your navel to your knees. It's from the navel to the knees. But the major awra, which is not supposed to be uncovered at all, it's your bottom. It's how am I going to tell you? It's the two private parts, actually, the penis and the anus. The penis and the anus. Both these two things are not allowed to be uncovered at all. You're not allowed to uncover it at all when you're praying. And that nullifies the prayer. For woman, she has to cover all her body except the face and the hands, the palms to the wrists. The hands, the face to the wrists. Now, what is the major awra? The major awra that nullifies the prayer if it's uncovered, it's all parts that have to do with he's going to mention it here right now. Let me tell you right now. No, what if something was uncovered not by intention? You didn't mean it, or you couldn't cover it because you don't have any clothes to cover it. You're in a place that you don't have any clothes in. So you're excused in these cases, actually. And if you forgot, you're excused as well. For example, you prayed and you forgot that there's a part of your body uncovered, or her part of the body is uncovered, so she is excused, yeah. So he says here, all these conditions are necessary only when remembered and when one is capable. Other than in the last condition. So if one of you prayed and you didn't make your wudu or your major ghusl, you're excused? No. You're excused from making a sin, but you have to repeat the prayer after making your wudu and ghusl. Whenever you remember, even if years passed. So, other than in the last condition, purification from an impure state, which must be fulfilled in all cases. As for the various judgments applicable in the case of someone who forgets or who is incapable, they are many in number. So there are lots of cases. We're not going to speak about those cases now because it's not our topic. It's not our topic. When you go in details, you can find them. And in the big commentary by Imam Mayyara on this poem, he spoke a lot about these types of things. Then he says here, it is preferable. It is preferable in these two cases that the salah is repeated when within the time. And I told you the time is to Dhuhr and Asr, to Maghrib, and Maghrib and Isha, to Fajr. So whenever he remembers in this time, he has to repeat this prayer. Similarly, whenever one is mistaken in the direction of the Qibla, but not in the case of incapacity with respect to the Qibla, or when failing to cover one's private parts. So you didn't know where the Qibla, you tried everything, you had the application, didn't work. So wherever you pray, that's good. It's not a big deal. Or you tried and you thought that this was like this, and you discovered it was like that. That's not a big deal. That's not a big deal. Your prayer is accepted. The same thing, you don't have anything to cover yourself. Or you have it, but it doesn't cover all your body. You're excused, yeah. And then it says, وَمَا عَدَى وَجْهَ وَكَفَّ الْحُرَّةِ يَجِبُ سُتْرُهُ كَمَا فِي الْعَوْرَةِ. All of the body of a free woman must be covered, as the private parts, except the face and the palms. And this is the private part that she's not, this is the parts that she's allowed to appear with them to foreigners. To foreigners with extra conditions, that's another story. All of the body of the free woman, yeah, although it's preferable to appear, to cover the face if she's beautiful, or she wants to cover her face, it's better for her to cover the face because that's better for her. And there are lots of evidence that prove that actually. لكن لدى كشف, not in prayer, out of prayer, when she appears to foreign men. So, okay, if she covers her face, is she allowed to uncover her face near people that she knows or she respects them or whatever? Yeah, because it's not obligatory. لكن لدى كشف لصدر أو شعر أو طرف تعيد في المقت المقر. If not the breast, no. Not the breast. It says here, if the breast, the hair, or another part. No, he didn't say the breast. He says the chest. The chest, not the breast. And that's a big difference. If a chest appears, a woman is allowed to appear with her chest uncovered near her father, her brother, her uncle, etc. But she's not allowed to appear with her breast uncovered near them. She's not allowed to do that at all. The hair or another part of the body. Another part? No, not another part. These parts, the legs, not the laps. So these are the parts that she's allowed to appear near her family. Her brother, her father, her son, her uncle, only. So these are the ones that are allowed to see her in this image, in this case. But is she allowed to go more than that near them? For example, wear a short and make her laps appear to them? No, she's not allowed to do that. Is she allowed to show them her breast? For example, she's given a suckle to her child near her father, her brother, her son. No, she's not allowed to do that because that's part of the awra. She's not allowed to uncover that. And they didn't mention the awra near the woman and stuff like that. Near the woman, a woman near a woman, it's from the breast, from the navel to the knees, according to the Maliki jurisprudence. One of the other woman is not Muslim. Two opinions. Some say she is considered as like a foreign man, so she's not allowed to appear near the non-Muslim woman except with her hijab, and appear only her face and her palms. Another opinion says no, she's like any other woman. I think this was the opinion of Imam Abu Bakr al-Arabi rahimahullah. So there's the translation here is wrong. After that, he started mentioning the conditions. He mentioned the conditions that make the salah accepted. No, he mentioned the conditions that make the salah obligatory, not accepted, obligatory. What are these? I mentioned some of them, but he mentions here some of them again. So he says, شرط وجوبها النقاء من الدم بقصة أو الجفوف فاعلمي. Condition of its being obligatory, it is here being free of menstrual blood or of the whitish flood, which marks the end of the cycle, or becoming dry. What is dry? Now, how does the woman know that she is now free from menstruation period? It's two things. Either she has a whitish, I'm sorry, I read it whitish. It's whitish. A white, that means white flood comes out of her vagina and shows that this is the end of her period. I asked a lot of women, but they said they don't know this flood, but some of them know them. So not all women have this flood. Some of them have it, some of them don't have it. What is the other thing to know that she is free from menstruation period? She takes a white tissue like this and she puts it on her vagina. So when it's not red anymore, she knows that she is pure from menstruation period. So when she's pure from menstruation period, she is obliged to make ghusl, and then she has to make her salah. Before that, she's not allowed to make her salah. Does she have to repeat the salawat in her period? No, she's not. She doesn't have to repeat the salah in her period. Does she have to repeat siyam? Yes, she has to repeat siyam, fasting, in the period when she wasn't allowed to fast. Okay? Therefore, he says, فلا قضاء أيامه ثم دخول وقت فأدها به حتما أقول. She does not have to make up her days of menstruation. That means she's not supposed to make the prayer, repeat the prayer. The next and final condition is the time of the salah. Yes, you have to know the times of the salah, so that when the time enters, the salah becomes obligatory for you. But when it doesn't enter, it's not obligatory for you. Are you going to pray before time comes? No. If the salah has arrived, in which case I say, be sure to perform it within this time. So you have to know the time. How do you know the time? What is the time? Actually, the time for Fajr is when you go to the horizon and you see the black, everything is black, when there's no lights, and then you see a very thin light going like this in the horizon, and then it starts to open. That is the real Fajr time. That is the real Fajr time. If you don't see that, that is not Fajr before. Because there's a false Fajr which just goes up like that. A light goes up like that, like the tail of the wolf. That the Prophet ﷺ said, like the tail of the wolf. It just goes up like that in the sky. It's not the real Fajr. That's false Fajr. Okay, what about Dhuhr? Dhuhr, you just put a stick. You put a stick on the ground, and then the sun, when it goes up, when it goes up, the shadow keeps on shrinking until it reaches to the sun. When it goes to the middle of the sky, the shadow becomes nearly zero. When it comes zero and then it flips over again to the other side, that is afternoon, which is Salatul Dhuhr. But don't forget that the shadow never becomes zero, because we are on earth, which is like a ball. And when you are like a ball, the ground is not always, it's always bended like this. So therefore, except in some few places in the world, it's not bended. So always you have to add the few how am I going to tell you, of the shadow that flipped over again. So you add it, and then when it flips over with adding those few shadow that was in the other side, you consider it dhuhr time. It keeps on until the shadow from the other side becomes in the same tall of the stick. Therefore, that's asr. And it keeps on after asr until it becomes twice like it. The prayer therefore becomes haram to leave it until that time, when the sun becomes reddish. When the sun sets down, you don't see it anymore, that's maghrib. But it remains an hour and a half, and it goes less than that in summer, and it goes more than that in winter. So it depends on the time, and that time when the red color disappears totally, that is Isha, and it remains to the midnight. The midnight, how do you count it? You count it from Maghrib to Fajr, from the sunset to the dawn, and you divide it to two. That half is midnight. Isha time remains to the midnight. After that, it's haram to pray in that time unless you have an excuse, as I mentioned here. So therefore, this is called the 5 times. These are the 5 times awqat. We have الوقت الضروري والوقت الاختياري. This is the اختياري. الضروري, which is squeeze time, which Dhuhr and Asr are connected with each other to Maghrib. Maghrib and Isha are connected to each other to Fajr. That's the time. If she is pure from her menstruation period, she has to pray those 2 prayers. No matter she is, for example, she's pure in the last hour before Fajr. She has to pray Maghrib and Isha. In the last hour of Asr, the last time, not even. So she has to pray both of them. She menstruated before Dhuhr. She's not asked to pray Dhuhr at all, because she menstruated before Dhuhr. She menstruated before Maghrib. She's not asked to pray Maghrib at all. So that's why you have to know the prayer's time. He didn't mention that, but I mentioned it for you because it's very important. Knowing the times of prayer is very important. And Al-Akhdari mentioned that. Al-Akhdari mentioned that, and you can go back to the videos of Al-Akhdari. It's free. You can find them on the YouTube and listen to them. Yes. Now, what are the sunnahs, the sunnahs of Salah? The sunnahs are 7. The sunnahs are 7. He says, سُنَانُهَا السُّورَةُ بَعْدَ الْوَاقِيَةِ. Some read it waqiyah, some read it wafiyah. Some read it wafiyah, and some and the commentators mentioned that it's wafiyah, not waqiyah, because it's one of the names of Surat Al-Fatiha. So it's named Al-Waqiyah wal-Wafiyah. Both of them are the names. مع القيام أولا والثانية سر وجهر في محل الله تكبيره إلا الذي تقدم كل تشهد جلوس الأول والثاني لا بل السلام يحصل وسمع الله لمن حمده في الرفع من ركوعه أورده الفذ والإمام هذا أكد والباقي كالمندوب في الحكم بدأ. What are these? These are the strong preferable actions. What does that mean? That means if you forget them, if you forget these strong obligatory preferable actions, you have to make sujood sahu, forgetting, prostration before taslim from the salah. If you forget, make them directly after the salah. If you don't make the sujood sahu, your prayer is nullified, because you didn't fix the prayer. You did fix the prayer. So what are these? These are 10 things. These are 10 things. Let me mention them to you, and then let me read them. Okay? The first one is reciting a surah after Surah Al-Fatiha. Standing up for that surah. reciting it with loud voice in Fajr and Maghrib and Isha, and with silent voice in other rak'ahs and other prayers. Okay, this is السورة بعد الفاتحة القيام لها السر والجهر بمحل لهما. Then saying سمع الله لمن حمده for the Imam and for the one who's praying by himself, and then saying or the first tashahhud and the second tashahhud, sitting down for the first and the second tashahhud, and then all takbirs of al-ihram, of salawat, not takbir al-ihram, that's obligatory. All the other takbirs, and every takbir is one small sunnah, but all of them is one major sunnah. And what else? Okay. So therefore, a surah after Al-Fatiha, standing up for it, reciting with loud or high voice, two tashahhuds, and it can be only in one tashahhud in Salat al-Fajr, for example, two tashahhuds, and Sami Allahu liman hamida for the Imam and for the Ma'mum, and yes, what else? Okay, these are the main things. Yes. Now let me read them for you, so that you can get them. So you can get them. Yeah, and تكبيرات النقل. Yes, and reciting the tashahhud in the first, and so sitting down and reciting the tashahhud. Therefore, you have 10 sunnahs. So he says, its sunnahs are surah after al-Fatiha, al-Waqiyah, or al-Wafiyah, both. The shield is Waqiyah. Wafiyah means completed. Together, withstanding both for the first and the second. Fatiha, the surah after al-Fatiha is read in only the two first rak'ahs. The third and the fourth, you don't read anything except the Fatiha. Reciting out loud or to oneself in accordance with the particular Salah, the saying of the takbir, except that mentioned above, which is fard. The takbir al-ihram, it's fard. Each tashahhud, the first and the second sitting except for the part of its, every sitting, the sitting for the tashahhud, the first one, and reciting the tashahhud. And he says, except for the part of it in which the salam is said. Now, sitting down for the salam, it's obligatory, because salam is obligatory. And the same, Sami Allahu liman hamida, Allah hears him who praises him, on rising from the bowing. All of the above are mu'akkad sunnahs, of particular importance, that is in the case of the person praying alone and the Imam. Yes, I mentioned this. Sami Allahu liman hamida, only the Imam says it, the Ma'mum doesn't say it, and only the one that's praying by himself says it. So the Imam says Sami Allahu liman hamida. When you are behind the Imam, you don't say Sami Allahu liman hamida, you say Rabbana wa lakal hamd. While the following sunnahs are only mandoob, recommended, and as such their judgments does not require a prostration or neglectness if omitted. So that doesn't actually nullify the prayer. The other sunnahs that I'm just going to mention right now don't affect your prayer even if you don't do them by intention. Actually, there's a lot to say here. There's a lot of things to say here, but I can't go in details so that we don't get squeezed by time. And then he mentioned here the other sunnahs. What are the other sunnahs that don't affect your prayer and you don't have to pray to prostrate for them? You don't have to prostrate for them. Prostrate for forgetting. He says, إقامة سجوده على اليدين وطرف الرجلين مثل الركبتين إنصات مقتد بجهر ثم رد على الإمام واليسار وأحد به وزائد سكون للحضور سترة غير مقتد خاف المرور جهر السلام كلم التشهد وأن يصلي على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Okay, namely the iqama. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, ashhadu an la ilaha. It's out of prayer. Even if you didn't do it, it doesn't nullify the prayer. It doesn't affect the prayer. But you had to do it. Prostrate is for men more asked than for women. But both of them are asked to do it. It's recommended for them to do it before praying. Prostrating on both hands and on the ends of the feet and on the knees. The person following the imam should listen to what is recited aloud. So when the imam is reciting, you don't recite behind him, you just listen to him. Then answer silently the salam of the imam. When the imam says assalamu alaikum, you say assalamu alaikum as well. And the person on the left, if there is someone there. So if it's only you with the imam says assalamu alaikum, you say assalamu alaikum, only one. If there's somebody else with you, you say assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum. If there are three, you say assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum. And this is the Maliki opinion, which is derived from some narrations about Abdullah ibn Umar ibn Khattab in Muwatta ibn Malik rahimahullah. The majority of scholars don't say that. And even Qadi Abu Bakr ibn Arabi rahimahullah doesn't agree about that. He says, no. You just say Salamu alaikum, salam, that's it. You don't say 3 times. He doesn't agree about those 3 times. But this is the madhab, yes. Saying the salam aloud, Assalamu alaikum. That's how you say it. The Imam says, Assalamu alaikum. When he says kum, he goes a little bit like that. The particular wording of the tashahhud. What is the particular wording of the tashahhud that is chosen by Imam Malik? التحيات لله الزاكيات لله الصلوات والطيبات السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. And the prayer on Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which is اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. This is in the second tashahhud. No matter is the 3rd rakah or the 4th rakah. Or it's 2 rakahs, like al-Fajr, you say it in the last tashahhud, yes. What about the adhan? The adhan, he says here, سُنَّ الْأَذَانُ لِجَمَاعَةٍ أَتَتْ فَرْضًا بِوَقْتِهِ وَغَيْرًا طَلَبَتْ. When is the adhan recommended? He says here, the adhan for the fard, salah, performed in the jama'ah in order to call others to do it, is another sunnah when time comes. Actually, the adhan is one of the great signs of Islam. When is it recommended? When is it asked? It's asked in a masjid or in a place that calls people to come. But when we are inside our house, do we need to make adhan? No, it's not even recommended according to the Malikis. Unless you are in a valley or somewhere or in the desert and you are by yourself and you call the adhan because anything hears the adhan, no matter it's jinn or angels or whatever, they repeat it behind you and it's a sign of Islam. So any Muslim city has to have adhan in it, because the Prophet ﷺ used to go to any city and he doesn't attack it unless he doesn't listen, he doesn't hear the adhan. He knows that this is not an Islamic land. So any Islamic land has to have adhan in it. Or else it's not considered as an Islamic land because there's no adhan in it. Okay? Okay, he passed quickly on the prayer of anybody who is traveling. He says, وَقَصْرُ مَنْ سَافَرَ أَرْبَعَ بُرُدْ ظُهْرًا عِشًا عَصْرًا إِلَى حِينَ يَعُدْ مِمَّا وَرَى السُّكْنَ إِلَيْهِ إِنْ قَدِمْ مُقِيمُ أَرْبَعَةِ أَيَّامٍ يُتِمْ. Shortening the salah for the travelers for a distance of 4 barids of each 12 Arab miles. What are these 12 Arab miles? Each Arab mile is 1,973 meters. 48 miles would be just over 90 kilometers. Nowadays, no. Some scholars say that al-barid is 20 kilometers. So 4 barids is 80 kilometers, not 9 kilometers. It differs from one to another. But anyway, they say it's like from Mecca to Jeddah. Mecca to Jeddah is actually 74 kilometers. 74 kilometers. So what is 70, 74, 80? Things that are close to that. Less than that, 50 kilometers or something like that, you don't make qasr because it's not considered as a travel actually. It's not considered as a travel that you shorten the prayer for it. So when you start traveling, as for dhuhr, you shorten dhuhr, asr, isha, it becomes 2 instead of 4. When he says to within the confines of a settled place, as long as he does not intend to stay somewhere on his journey for more than 4 days, in which case he does the salah in full. Okay. Now, when do you start shortening the prayer? When you go out of your city. You go out of the city, you start shortening until you reach. When you reach to the place that you want to go to, if you know how many days you're gonna settle there, you know that it's 2 days, 3 days, you shorten your prayer. You don't know, you keep on shortening your prayer until you go out. No matter you stayed there month or 2 months or whatever, because you don't know when you're gonna finish. And if you know that you're gonna settle there more than 4 prayers, which is 20 prayers, therefore you don't. You're like muqim. You're like a residence, and you're not allowed to shorten your prayers. Wallahu tabaraka wa ta'ala alam. I think this is enough for today. I wanted to continue the recommended acts of the salah, but I'll leave them until the next lecture, inshallah. Thank you very much for being patient with me, and I'll be with you, inshallah, next lecture. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.